Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Last night in my prayer closet, I was just really praying and asking the Lord, you gotta send me more information, be it through Coverstone or Massey or Leslie or whoever it might be. I want to know. I want to know the future. I want to know what's coming. I want to know what you want me to tell and to warn your people. So after my prayer closet, I went to bed. And this has happened, I don't know, 8 to 10 times. But I laid in bed and it kept coming to me over and over and over. And he kept speaking in my heart about what's coming. And I thought, oh, I'm so tired. I'll remember it in the morning. But then I remember, no, I've done that before. And I wake up in the morning and it's gone. So at probably, 11:45, I crawled out of bed and I came in and I make notes for this particular broadcast. Now, essentially, what he's saying is these are the days of Elijah. Now, I got to explain that. We're going to talk about it. But that's actually really, really, really important. These are the days of Elijah. These are the days of Elijah repeating in the nation of America. So, to refresh your memory, then we'll get started. August 8th, Saturday night, 2015. Lord, I don't have anything to say for the sermon tomorrow morning. What do you want to say? And I heard words. And it said, this is the time of miracles. Then he downloaded in my heart that the greatest double portion miracles are going to be poured out as the judgment hits. And he didn't say that audibly, but he said, as the judgment hits, so will my miracles. Miracles like no one has seen, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. And you tell my people, I will never leave them nor forsake them. As the devil shows up, I'm going to meet him. Inch for inch, step for step, pound for pound, everything the devil does, I'm going to show up. I'm going to meet the devil. Now, that was August 8th, 2015. Then August 3rd of 2015, I heard audible words, and they said, these are the days of Elijah. Then he downloaded to my heart that the great end-time battle between good and evil has begun. Now, specifically last night, what he began speaking to my heart was that we are, talking about America, we are in the process of the removal of evil, and a great cleansing of the land of America has begun. Now, let me back up and explain what I'm talking about. Sundar Salvarez said, and this was back, I should have had the date here. I know it's August at 8:23 p.m., but I think this is before he was even elected. He was taken to heaven, and he was shown that Trump will become president. He will be used, here's the words we need to remember, to clean and purify the nation. So Salvarez was shown before Trump was even elected that his primary job is to clean and purify the nation. Well, that is what we've been praying for. 2 Chronicles 7:14, my people called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face. Here it is. And turn from their wicked ways. For America to be healed, we must. Remember another time, Sundar Salvarez says what you need is not revival. What you need is get your house in order. That means clean and purify the nation. That means arrest and bring justice to a lot of people, evil people in high places throughout your nation. That's what he really said. He said he will be used to clean and purify the nation. As hard as he is, he has been prepared for this. As Cyrus was used to discipline Israel, then restore Israel, likewise Trump will be used in the United States. He will be used to curb violence. He will be God's mouth and hand for this nation. Now let's jump forward. October 19, 2020, Sundar Salvarez again. Mr. Trump should continue for another term of God's purposes to be done in this nation. So he's saying that Trump will win the election, like all the other prophets I know of are all saying Mr. Trump is going to win the election. Should continue for another term for God's purposes to be done in this nation. God is not finished yet. God wants to give America another 4 years of grace. That's another 4 years of grace. 4 years to restart. Well, again, that's what Elijah did for Israel. Now, we're going to talk about that in a second. The 4 years was just laying the groundwork. The next 4 years will be to germinate the seeds sown for the shoots and flowers to come. What's the shoots and the flowers? I believe that that's Proverbs 13:22. The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. That is the start of the good part of the New World Order. Yes, we all know that it will eventually turn into world government, the mark of the beast, and all that sort of stuff. But it at least starts good, like most every other thing starts good, and then the devil takes it over and corrupts it. Let's go on. The Lord Jesus said, I love Donald Trump. He is my servant. He will fulfill my will for this nation and Israel. If the Christians in this country, now listen to this, and we did this, this is good news. If the Christians in this country will gather together in groups in churches to pray sincerely without prejudice and bias, then I will push back the enemy's plans. Is that not what we did, my people? They didn't say everybody. If my people call by my name, will humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from the wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, I will forgive their sins, and I will heal their land. Now, Coverstone says some 20,000 churches and Christian groups all gathered and prayed during the month of September. And of course, then we also have the solemn October assembly. I think we did. I have never seen so many churches, so many gatherings, so many people praying as what happens in September, and again, of course, ours in October. And our meetings, we gathered under one name, Jesus, to do one thing, pray for America. That's without prejudice, without bias. We believe that to a certain degree, some of these enemy's plans are going to be delayed. Some are going to be removed. Now, it's not up to us to know which ones or how or when, but nevertheless. So let's go on. Sundar also said, all hell has been released against Mr. Trump. Now, that's a worldly phrase, but also it is speaking truth. All hell has been released against Mr. Trump. Even the good media turned against him. And that's what we saw with Fox News by announcing Arizona was given to and won by Biden way too early. And there's been some other stunts that Fox News has pulled. Matter of fact, remember, Fox News is owned and controlled by the Catholic Church. And also remember, the Catholic Church is going to be the foundation of which the woman that ride the beast is all about, because the woman is the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church is not necessarily all good. Sorry, Catholics. And by the way, our church is not all good either. There's not a church that's all good. So we all make mistakes. I'm not trying to beat up on the Catholics. Anyway, Mr. Trump, even the good media turned against him. It is the work of the enemy. Stand in the gap. Oh boy, that's so important. Stand in the gap and pray for America. We all, brothers and sisters, must continue to fast and pray and stand in the gap for our nation. Stand in the gap. Pray for America. America should raise up an army to stand in the gap. We need 24/7 prayer watches, and to surround the president with prayer, make sure he is fully guarded. Now, again, the Lord said, these are the days of Elisha. What did he mean? Well, the short story is this. God is about to use Trump to clean and purify our nation. It will be a time of great distress as the cleaning is taking place. That's the reason the angel said, brace yourself. As Coverstone was told, Trump is going to arrest the Moloch, Baal, and election cheaters in mass. That was what was on my heart all night long last night. That's what's about to happen. I'm telling you, you're about to see a lot of arrests in America. And according to the timing that Coverstone gave, it certainly appears that it starts in November, gets worse in December, and even January. Okay, now, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Arresting the Moloch and Baal and election cheaters in mass. So I looked up the Nuremberg trials. This paragraph comes right out of Wikipedia. The Nuremberg trials were a series of military tribunals. That's what Trump is going to use, military tribunals. A series of military tribunals held after World War II by the Allied forces under international law and the laws of war. The trials were most notable for the prosecution of prominent members of the political, military, judicial, and economic leadership of Nazi Germany who planned, carried out, or otherwise participated in the Holocaust and other war crimes. The trials were held in Nuremberg, Germany, hence the name Nuremberg trials, and their decisions marked a turning point. You remember the angel that came to Coverstone circled November 3rd and was going in a clockwise fashion. That means that it was going the way of the devil. Then it stopped and reversed, going to the counterclockwise position. My interpretation is that is a change. It's changing from the ways of the world to the ways of God. It is changing. In other words, if you flush your toilet, it doesn't go clockwise, it goes counterclockwise. Just like when the Jews were told to build an altar, they were told that anything that had any kind of a tool laid to that stone then corrupted it. In other words, the things of God are uncorrupt, and the things that man touches become corrupt. So when the angel is circling November 3rd in a clockwise fashion, he's saying that this is the way of the devil, but then based upon that, November 3rd, it is all turning around and changing now God's way, meaning that on November 3rd, or about November 3rd to 11th, I'll extend that also because of the Mayflower Compact on November 11th of 1620, 400 years. On or about November 3rd to November 11th, there is a change from the old order based upon the Bible to the new world order based upon the mighty move of the Spirit of the last days. This is the start of the days of Elijah. Now, let me give you a little bit more, and I got to change a lot of words on this because, boy, if I read this one word for word, they would pull this broadcast. Okay, this comes to us from Judicial Watch, and it says it is a conservative, nonpartisan education system, and it heads up here, and I've got to change a lot of words, but I'll make it make sense. Okay, it says the votes Sunday, November 8th of 2020, a recount of voting ballots nationwide was being done by elite units of the National Guard by early Sunday morning, the 8th of November. In order to prevent fraud, official ballots had been printed with an invisible, unbreakable code and registered on a, as of this writing, I want to see, by the way, how gets translated on YouTube. But as of this writing, in 5 states, 14, listen carefully, in 5 states, 14 million ballots have been put through a laser scanner, 78% of which failed because there was no to verify the ballot. Of those that failed, 100% had checked for Biden. An initial test showed that according to unvalidated ballots fed into the Trump won by re-election by over 80% of the legal ballots cast. The final validated vote tallied in the test. Trump, 73.5 million votes. JB, 25.9 million. Let me say it again. Now, this is only from 5 states. Only 14 million ballots is part of what they're talking about here. And of this, 80% of the legal ballots cast. The final validated vote tallied in the test. Trump, 73.5 million votes. JB, 25.9 million. And that didn't even count for Trump's votes that people observed being tossed and never accounted for. Meaning that this whole election is part of a giant Elijah plan. Multiple media outlets are reporting today that President Trump has just fired Mark Esper, the defense secretary and a known deep stater who opposed Trump's authority to use the Insurrection Act. Okay, so now what is the Insurrection Act? This comes to us from Wikipedia again. The Insurrection Act of 1807 is a United States federal law that empowers the President of the United States to employ U.S. military and federalize National Guard troops within the United States in particular circumstances, such as to suppress civil disorder, insurrection, and rebellion. The Act provides a statutory exception to the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878, which limits the use of military personnel under federal command for law enforcement purposes within the United States. Which means if President Trump uses the Insurrection Act of 1807, which, according to other people, it's been used about like 25 times. If he does, he can use U.S. military and National Guard to put down civil disorder, insurrection, and rebellion, and that means it could be used to round up the ballots in these 12 primary states, to recount them, to make certain that the election in at least those 12 states is actually accurate. And the reason I think that Mark Esper's dismissal is important is because he's the guy that refused to release the military to go in and protect the White House in Washington, D.C. back on 11/11/19, I believe it was. Remember when we suspected that, at least it was a report based upon Benjamin Fulford, that said that there were suitcase nukes, that they reportedly found like 3 of them in Washington, D.C.? Well, he's the guy that said, no, you can't use the military to do that. So now Mark Esper is gone, paving the way to use the military in the Insurrection Act to put down all of the people that are protesting about Trump winning this election. Also, I saw Janine, the judge on Fox News. She was being interviewed on someone else's YouTube channel. She said she had had a private conversation with President Trump and said, what are you going to do if the election turns around and causes major riots? And he said, I'll invoke the Insurrection Act. So it may very well be here in the next week to 10 days, maybe it's 2 weeks, but probably not, probably by the end of the month, we could very well see Trump declared victor, and then as Coverstone was shown, people just shooting randomly in the air and just basically just insurrection. Okay, so the vote-changing program, now this is talking about an actual computer program. Reportedly, there is a computer program that can invade the election, how do I say those? The voting systems, and can actually change votes. Okay, so the vote-changing program, and I can't mention the name of it here, apparently during the election, the real-time votes were actually exported offshore. Then they were reportedly changed in battleground states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and other, referred to as glitches. You remember her talk about there were glitches. Well, there's not just glitches, and it wasn't just Wisconsin or Michigan. Apparently what they're saying is that it was in a lot of places all over America. Now let's come back to the point of the program. Again, August 8th, 2015, I heard this is the time of miracles. But October 3rd of 2015, I heard these are the days of Elijah. What does that mean? Now let's go to it. 1 Kings 18:19. And if there is one part of the Bible we Christians love to read and love to hear about, is this. This is telling us a story of how Israel was being taken over by, or had been taken over by, evil in high places. And this is a story of one man that was able, through the help of God, to turn it all around and to eliminate so many people in high places. Hence, the Elijah plan. Now, therefore, send and gather me all Israel unto Mount Carmel. I've actually been on Mount Carmel, and it takes 15, 20 minutes to ride up there on a bus. It's a fairly good-sized mountain. Unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal, B-A-A-L, again, these are the people that believe in human sacrifice, child molestation, sex trafficking. Okay, these are the people. And the prophets of Baal, 450, and the prophets of the groves, 400. The prophets of the groves are the ones that worship under Christmas trees. Oh, I didn't say Christmas trees. They put trees on top of the mountain. They decorate them. They put gifts to their God under the trees, and then they pour out meat offerings and drink offerings and burn incense to their gods. That's the prophets of the groves. And so what are we doing having anything to do with a Christmas tree? So Ahab sent all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel. And Elijah came at all the people and said, how long is it going to take before you guys decide which God is God? At least that's the way we say it in English today. He says, how long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. If Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. Then said Elijah unto the people, I, even I only, remain a prophet of the Lord. But Baal's prophets are 450 men. That's kind of where we are today. It seems like the ratio of good people to bad people in America, especially as demonstrated by our election, is about 1 to 400. So Elisha says, so let's do a little test. Let's have a little preach-off. Let's have a contest. Here's what we're going to do. You guys get 2 bullocks. Let them choose 1 bullock and cut it in pieces. Lay it on wood. Don't put any fire under it. And dress the other bullock and lay it on wood and put no fire under it. Then you guys call in the name of your gods. Then I will call in the name of the Lord. And the God that answers by fire, let him be God. And by the way, I'm Johnsonizing this a little bit as we go. Let him be God. And all the people answered and said, it is well spoken. So Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, choose you the bullock. Which one do you choose? Dress it. Call in your gods. Don't put any fire under it. So they took the bullock, dressed it, called upon the name of Baal from morning to noon. But there was no voice. No one answered. So they leaped upon the altar which was made, and soon, about noon, Elijah began to mock them. Say, wait a minute. I thought JB won the election. No, I mean. And Elijah mocked them and said, cry aloud, for he is a God. Either he is talking or pursuing, or maybe he's on a journey, or maybe he's asleep. Maybe he has to be awakened. So they cried aloud, and then they began to cut themselves with knives and lancets. And that's kind of what's going to happen with all the Biden people when Trump has announced the victor. Okay? They're going to get mad like you can't believe. So they cried aloud. They cut themselves with knives and lancets. The blood gushed out all over them. And it came to pass about midday, and they prophesied until the evening offering time. But there was no voice. There was no answer. There was no fire. So finally Elijah stepped forward and said, okay, it's my turn. Everybody gather around. So Elijah carefully took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be thy name. And the stones he built an altar, and he put a trench around the altar as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. And he put the wood in ore and cut the bullock in pieces and laid it on the wood and said, fill 4 barrels with water and pour it on the burnt sacrifice and on the wood. And he said, do it the second time. So they did it the second time. Do it the third time. And they did it the third time. So that's 12 barrels of water poured on it. The water ran around the altar, filled the trench with water. About the time of the evening offering, Elijah the prophet came and said, let it be known this day that thou art God in Israel, and I am thy servant, and that I have done these things according to thy word. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that thou art the God of Israel. See, that's what God is doing in America right now. All of this election, all of these Moloch and Baal worshipers, once again, are about to be rounded up, and the same thing's going to happen to them. This is going to repeat. That's the reason the audible voice said, these are the days of Elijah, meaning these are the days when God is about to clean and purify America, just as was told to actually many prophets. So then, fire from the Lord fell, consumed the burnt sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. So when the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. And brothers and sisters, that's what we need to be praying for is about to happen in our nation also. When these people are rounded up and justice is handed out to them, like was handed out to the prophets of Baal and the prophets of the groves, when that justice comes, we need to also recognize that Jesus is God. And that's the reason we're about to see sports stadiums filled. We're about to see the power of God come in. As he said, this is the time of miracles. Miracles like no one has seen going back to Adam and Eve. As the judgment hits, so are my miracles. Meaning when these people start getting rounded up, we are going to see a great storm hit America. But because of that storm from the bad side, there's also going to be the move of the Spirit on the good side. So the fire from the Lord fell. Has not Coverstone said that there's going to be a mighty rushing wind and tongues of fire setting upon the heads of people who had fasted and prayed? You see, that fire is the same thing as the morning star. The morning star is the light that made the heavens and the earth. It's the light that burns up the tares at the end. And here's a case where fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice, the wood, the stones, the dust, licked up the water that was in the trench. So then what happened? So the people saw it, fell on their faces, and said, yep, he is God. Then what happened? So Elijah said unto them, take the prophets of, I started to say that other, JB, okay, no, not that. And Elijah said unto them, take the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. And they took them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and slew them there. Now, we do not know what the justice is going to be handed out to a lot of these people, but we certainly pray that justice will be handed out. But the point is, God is about to do the same thing. God is about to cleanse and purify our nation. People in high places, many of them quite well known and quite famous, and many of them quite beloved, but they've eaten at Jezebel's table. So consequently, they're about to be eliminated, and then as a result, the fire of the Lord falls, consumes the other filth out there, you might say, and there's a great move of the Spirit. Miracles like no one has seen, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. Sevenfold miracles will be walking on the hands of people that have fasted and prayed and cried and sighed for the abominations done in America. A great move of God is about to hit. So do not sit there and think, oh, Trump lost. No, Trump didn't lost. This is all part of the Elijah plot, the Elijah plan to eliminate people in high places. So then what happened? Verse 43. See, there was a great drought in the land. So Elijah said to his servant, go up and look toward the sea. And he went and looked, and he saw nothing. He had to go 7 times. That may mean 7 years of prosperity is about to come to America. I hope so and pray so. And at the pass of the 7th time, he said, behold, there riseth a little cloud out of the sea in a man's hand. And he said, go up and say to Ahab. In other words, as that results of that, a great cloud and winds, and there was a great rain, and the drought was broken. We want to believe that the great drought in America, the drought of evil, is all about to be broken, and a great time of miracles and the move of God is about to come in. The hand moving clockwise is about to start going in the counterclockwise. The world going as the devil wants it to go is about to be turned the way God wants it to go. There's going to be a great move of God for a few brief years, and then the beast will be released. Until then, all of the people whose names are in the book of life must come into the kingdom. Once they are in, then the trouble will ensue. That's what the angel said to Dimitri Dudema too. I'm telling you, this is what it's about to come to America. Oh, I've got to add in, the office just called and said that they have a new shipment of Berkeys, plus the Berkey company has set a whole 500 Berkeys aside just for Prophecy Club to sell. So if you want a Berkey, now is the time to get it. Go to prophecyclub.com and place your order. prophecyclub.com for a big Berkey, the only water filter I recommend. You can use it any place to filter without any water pressure. Go to prophecyclub.com and order your Berkey water filter today. We've got them in stock and can ship them. When a nuclear device goes off, it produces an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, and it fries every computer chip unless they're protected. The good news is EMPshield.com has devices a military testing facility says are 100% accurate to protect against EMP, solar flares, lightning, power surges, backed by a 10-year warranty and a $25,000 insurance policy. And they come with simple installation instructions for home, vehicles, RV, and electric generators. You can have electricity in a blackout. EMPshield.com. Use the promo code PROPHECY for a $50 gift card. This helps Prophecy Club. That's EMPshield.com. Promo code PROPHECY for a $50 gift card. EMPshield.com. EMPshield.com. You can have instant access to over 200 titles on a recurring monthly subscription of $20 or yearly for $200 at watchprophecyclub.com. Click like, share, and subscribe.